Hello Year 4, I hope you're all okay. Today in English we are going to be learning how to use past tense verbs in preparation for our diary entry writing. By the end of this lesson you will be able to identify past and present verbs, you will be able to explain the difference between past and present tense, and you will be able to rewrite sentences changing them from present tense into past tense. And all of this today will help you become super experts at writing a diary entry. To start with, I do have 4 retrieval questions. Now, this picture in the right-hand corner here will help you with number 2, giving a definition for this word shoal. So if you pause the video here now, please, write your answers on a piece of paper, giving the title Retrieval Practice. Pause the video and off you go, please. Okay, what is a synonym for the word bewildered? Well, we know that a synonym is a word that means the same as that word. Words that mean the same as bewildered are words such as baffled, confused, and puzzled. Number 2, give a definition for the word shoal. Well, if you use that image to help you, you will see that in the image it was a group of fish that were swimming together. And that is exactly what the word shoal means. Number 3, rewrite this sentence in first person. Well, we know that when we are changing between first person to second person to third person, we need to look at the pronouns. Pronouns here are Megan, her, and they. So these will need to be changed, and we know that when we write in first person, we use pronouns such as I or my or we. So you might have changed this sentence to, my friends and I ran to the car. We were excited to go on holiday. Finally, then number 4, what is a verb? And give 3 examples of verbs. So a verb is a doing word. It's a word to describe an action, something that you do. Some examples of verbs, there are so many verbs that you could possibly do, but some examples are jump, look, roll, swim. Don't worry if you haven't got some of my examples because there are thousands of different verbs that you could have chosen, as long as your word is used to describe an action, a doing word. Okay. Now thinking about today's lesson, your first task is to think of something that you did at the weekend. I know there's only limited things we can do, but have a think. Did you do something nice at the weekend? You might have played with your pet, you might have played with your siblings, you might have gone for a walk or a bike ride. I would like you to write a couple of sentences describing what you did and how you felt. Now my example is below in blue. I went for a long walk in the park. I walked 15,000 steps and I was exhausted when I got home. So mine is just 2 sentences long, not long at all. Write it down on a piece of paper, okay? Pause the video and off you go. Okay, now you've written that sentence down, your next task is to think of something that you are doing right now. So, something that you are doing at this current moment in time. So, I am sat down right now. What are you doing right now? Write a couple of sentences, again, describing what you are doing. And here's my example again below. I am sitting in my office preparing your home learning lessons. That's what I am doing right now. Now it's your turn to write a couple of sentences, even if it's just one sentence describing what you are doing. Make sure you write it down underneath your previous sentence, please. Pause the video and write that down now, please. Okay, so now your piece of paper should be looking something like this. You have your first sentence, which is describing something you did at the weekend, and your second sentence describing something that you are doing now. I want you to just have a little bit of a think, looking at my sentences and looking at the sentences that you have written down. What is different about these 2 examples? Pause the video and just have a think for a second, please. Okay, you might have noticed that they are in different tenses. If you've already thought ahead about what our lesson might be about, you might have used your knowledge about tenses and thought that they are in different tenses. You might have also noticed that some of these words in red are quite important to the way that it is spoken and the way that the sentence comes across. I went for a long walk in the park. I walked 15,000 steps, and I was exhausted when I got home. As opposed to, I am sitting in my office preparing your home learning lessons. Please ignore this learning in red. It's not supposed to be in red. So, thinking about tenses and what you know about tenses, do you know what tenses these are both written in? Have a think. Okay, if you don't know, that's okay, because that's what we're going to be learning about today. But you might have noticed that here there are some past tense verbs being used. Walked is a past tense verb. It's got that ed suffix on the end to show that it's happened in the past. I was exhausted, something that you felt in the past. I went for a long walk, something that you did in the past. Whereas number 2 is slightly different, because here we're saying I am sitting. So something that's happening right now. So do you know what tense that is? Is it the past tense? No, we're not talking about something that's already happened, are we? We're talking about something that's happening now. Now, that is known as present tense. If it's happening now, that's known as present tense. But if it's happened previously, that is known as past tense. And that is what we are going to be working on today. I would just like you to have a little think though before we move on. How could you change the past into present tense? And how could you change the present tense back into past tense? What words would have to be changed? Can you just pause the video here and have a bit of a think, please? You might have noticed that these words in red will be the words that need to be changed. They are our verbs, our doing words. Because if we use a past tense verb, walked, that shows that we have done it. But if we say walk or I am walking, like I am sitting, that's a present tense verb, something you're doing right now. So today we will be looking at past and present tense. Before we go into that, I'm just going to give you a sentence. And I would like you to see if you can identify the different parts of this sentence. Can you identify the determiner? Can you identify any adjectives? Can you identify any nouns? Can you identify any verbs? Can you identify any pronouns? Any conjunctions? I am going to let you pause the video and have a think, and then I will make it a bit easier if you are struggling and then ask you to pause it again. So for now, can you please write this sentence down in your book or on your piece of paper, and first try and annotate each word according to what it is. Okay, so pause the video here and have a go, please. Okay, and if you need a bit more help, I have given you a clue and I've split some of the words up into sections that might help you a bit more. So if you're still working on that, pause the video again and have another go, please, year 4. Okay, let's go through this then. The word the is a determiner. It describes the noun, what they're about to say. So this word small and late, they are both adjectives. They describe something else. In this sense, they are describing the noun boy, so the small boy. The small boy could also be considered a noun phrase. Now, what would I have to add to this phrase, the small boy, to make it an expanded noun phrase? That's right, I'd need to add another adjective separated by a comma. Fantastic. So I have just got a normal noun phrase here, the small boy. These words boy and school, they are things, so they are a noun. Was running, they are both my verbs, as well as was. So it's an action. Was is an action. Running was an action. To, we've got our preposition here, so it's saying the position of where something is. Was running to school. Something was beneath the plant. And because is a conjunction and he is a pronoun. So knowing our pronouns is going to be really important for our lesson today, making sure that we know our pronouns, because in our task today you're going to be writing in first person again, as well as writing in past tense. Now, I want to see if you know which part of the sentence tells us what tense it is. If we want to know whether it's in past, present, or future tense, what types of words do we look for? Do we look at the adjectives? Do we look at the nouns? Do we look at the verbs? Do we look at the conjunctions? Pause the video and see, how do I know what tense this is in? Pause the video and have a think, please. Okay, so you might have figured out that the verbs tell us its tense, just like the examples that we looked at when I asked you to think of things that you were doing now and things that you did at the weekend. The verbs tell us what tense it is. So if I know that he was running and he was late, do you think that means it was in past, present, or future tense? Did it happen a while ago? Is it happening right now? Or is it going to happen in the future? What do you think, Year 4? That's right, it happened in the past. He was running. It was in the past. So today we are looking at past, simple past and simple present tenses. But what is simple past tense? We've spoke about it a little bit. Simple past tense describes events that did happen but they have now been completed, so they are not happening anymore. So you might have played, you might have walked, you might have sung, you might have ate. These are all past tense verbs that describe something that did happen but is not happening anymore because it's completed. Whereas simple present tense describes an action that's happening right now, like I am sitting, I am eating, I am drinking. What I would like you to do is have a go at sorting these sentences into the correct places in the table below. So we have got a table with one column that is a simple past sentence. So remembering that past is what's happened previously. And the other column is full of simple present tenses. So those sentences that are happening now. Have a look at the following sentences, please. Read them out loud and think, is that simple past tense or simple present tense? We're going to do the first one together. So, the first one, she read a book. Now I'm thinking to myself, she read a book. Well, my verb here is read. That is my doing word, okay? I know it can't be book because that's my noun, that's my thing. Read is the action. Now, if I wanted that to be present tense, maybe that would be she reads or she's reading. So she read a book tells me that she's already read it. It's in the past. So that would be a simple past sentence. For the rest of them, can you do the same? Identify the verb, identify whether it's happened in the past or happening now. Read it out loud and that might help you, okay? Pause the video and sort these into your table, please. Off you go. Okay, let's have a look at another one then. Jim ate his lunch. My verb here is the word ate. That's my doing word. Ate his lunch. Now, ate his lunch. Ate his lunch. That's telling me he has already had it. So that is going to be past tense. If it was present tense, what would it be? Yes, Jim eats his lunch, or Jim is eating his lunch. The final simple past sentence is we played football. So played is the verb. It has that ed suffix that tells me that it's past tense. But also, if we read it out loud, we played football. It's happened in the past. It's already happened. That is a past tense sentence. I bake cakes. So we know that bake is not a past tense verb because that would be baked. I baked cakes. But if it's in the present, they're doing it right now. I bake cakes. The second present sentence is our teacher helps us. Now, if this was past tense, what would that verb helps turn into? That's right, it would be helped, wasn't it? Our teacher helps us. And finally, Agnes swims for a club. Now, if that was past tense, what would that verb swims turn to? Well done, swam. Not swimmed, swam, okay? We need to be careful that not all verbs end in ed to make them a past tense verb, okay? We need to make sure that sometimes we say it out loud and think, do we really say it like that? and if we don't, it will have to be changing, okay? It's like the word drink. We don't say I drinked, it would be I drank.